Hey, I'm Emily.
And I'm May, and we're the co-founders of Dune Sun Care.
And you're listening to Hey, How You Dune, where we interview amazing, inspiring guests and chat about the weird, the unexpected, the funny, and of course, as always, the relatable, to inspire you too and maybe give you a little laugh. Hope you enjoy, and as always, cover your assets. We are so proud today to have Becky, the famous Rebecca Minkoff, with us. Pal, fashion extraordinaire, latest cast member of Roni. I'm sure everyone's tuned in. Also, co-founder of Female Founder Collective, mom, wife, all the things. You're an insane person with how much you've accomplished and can juggle every day. So we want to kick off with context. How the heck do we know one another? So May, do you want to kick it off?
Before we have worked together on Dune collabs and all that stuff, I was actually Rebecca's DJ for so many shows. The one show that I particularly have a fond memory of was the fashion show in LA at the Grove, which was incredible because it was
right. I
right
forgot
in,
about that.
yes, it was right in the middle of the train tracks, and I made a really great little playlist. And we kicked it off with a la La's, which was so funky. It was such a great show.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I came into the picture more than a decade later, and we
At
ran
Surf
into
Lodge.
the Surf Lodge, right?
Oh
And
my
you were
gosh.
surrounded by a gaggle of gals, i.e. influencers, and she was like, "This is an out-of-body experience. Had a call, but what are you guys doing later?" And then we all became fast friends. You also had us on your own podcast,
Right.
for Women, which was incredible, and we are very proud to be members of Female Founder Collective. So we are in bed. We are in bed with you.
We are in bed.
So Becky,
Yes,
how
Emily.
the F do you juggle everything? Like, what's your secret to staying sane? What do you do?
Wow. Well, I will say that I have made sure that inside and outside the home, like I think with my husband and with anyone and their partner, they need to set expectations about where the roles are. We both work. We're both in the creative side of things, so schedules are always very fluctuating. There isn't like a 9 to 5 necessarily. And I think that was an important just base of strength that he has 100% of the job and I have 100% of the job. And we kind of know our lanes. We know who focuses more on other arenas. I'm always shocked when I hear couples are afraid to communicate that stuff with their spouse. I'm like, you can marry them. They're going to watch a head literally come out of your vagina. You should probably figure this out. And then I think at the office, I have a great team. Like you named off all the stuff I do. There's someone helping me with all that. It's not just me. I might be, more the 50% of the more well-known name for Female Founder Collective, but Allie, Wyatt, Elizabeth Leonard, Avery, Carly, Sarah, Kimber, right? There's a whole team of incredible people on my co-founder, Allie, who make it run 24/7. There's a producer for my podcast. There is a show notes writer for my podcast. So I've set it up so that I have these people that do a really good job and it allows me to do the things that I do. And then I'm very scheduled. Like every minute of my day is scheduled until the kids come home. And then it's like, for the most part, if I can control it, then it's my time with them. So I think it's about being type A in your scheduling, having a great team, and having honest conversations at home about who's going to wear what hat.
Right. I feel like we are on that trajectory to getting help, but I feel like we're like, whoa, that sounds overwhelming because Emily and I kind of do it all right now.
Yeah, no, I'm like,
And you will have these phases because I'm 20 years in. So I figured
yeah, of course.
You're in year like what, 3?
Yeah.
Two.
Two and a half.
You're in year 2.
Yeah.
So in year 2, I was going to in year 2, I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have a newsletter. I wasn't co-founder of Female Founder Collective. I was in my factory shipping out my goods and taking orders and running people's credit cards. That's what I was doing in year 2. Into year 10, so there's different phases where you're going to be
Thank you for saying that.
yeah, there's
Yeah, we
different phases where you're
appreciate
going to be in the
it.
trenches
Mhm.
shoveling shit and then
Shoveling shit.
and then
Literally.
and then you rise above it and you get a little bit more and more.
You rise above the shit.
You rise above it. Then you hire other shit shovelers, it's a constant circle of life.
Yeah, I know. I love when we went on our first lady date, I was like, how the f are you balancing all of this stuff? And you were like, I have a full staff and I barely do anything. I'm like, please give yourself some more credit. You do so much.
I do a lot. I don't know why I said I barely do anything, but
You
I
probably
feel
didn't say that. I'm exaggerating, but you downplayed yourself. I was like, I get it. You have support, but like, man, it's like you still have to, you're still involved. It's
Mhm.
yeah,
you're in the weeds.
yeah.
Um, all right, talk to us about Rebecca and Becky, because Becky feels inner circle, but now you have your personal Instagram, which is Becky. We've always known you for 20 years as the famous Rebecca Minkoff. So what's the next switch?
It's funny. I never thought of Becky as like a bad name until one of my castmates was like, Becky. Becky's so basic. Becky's from Ohio. And I was just like,
We'll get to that person.
Wow.
oh, I really liked
What?
Becky. I thought she was like a normal girl, not like a Karen.
Yeah.
Um,
Who says that?
And who makes these like rules up?
oh my God. Don't ask. I have no idea. But
I love
Becky
Becky.
Becky's the more down to like Rebecca Minkoff is what you like brand. There's always hair and makeup. There's a fabulous outfit. Becky's like the mom slash normal woman, um, just being me, I guess. It's a lot more lo-fi and it's a lot more casual. And obviously there's a time and a place for both.
Have you always been Becky as well?
I've always been Becky. I never liked Rebecca, but I felt like when I started my business, it sounded more professional. It sounded
Mm,
more legitimate, and that's the only reason why I started using it.
mm.
It definitely feels way more legitimate.
See, Becky from Ohio, basic Becky.
Basic bitch Becky.
You are
Becky with
buying
the
it.
good
Yeah.
hair, though. Becky
Yeah.
with the
Back with
good
the good
hair.
hair. Oh my God. That's a good segue into Becky. You're looking snatched. Can you give us your like exercise tips,
Yes,
your like diet because you're looking amazing.
yes.
Skincare.
I get very granular in my Substack.
Hmm.
There's an article where I kind of break down everything, but top level, when I
Wow.
knew I was going to be on TV,
Hmm.
I just knew I wanted to look and feel my best. I was very much struggling with losing the last 10 pounds of baby weight
Hmm.
and nothing. I just kept doing the same thing, which is, I think there's a quote like, if you do the same thing over and over with the same result, it's like insanity. So I was like,
Mhm.
at some point, me running 2 miles every day it's going to get me in shape.
Hmm.
And that just wasn't happening. So I committed in January after some late night doom scrolling to when I look and felt my best. And I was like, I had a trainer. So I'm going to commit to a trainer and I'm going to just give myself 3 months to see any change. And we went a month and there was no change. And he's like, you have to start cutting calories.
Wow. Okay.
It doesn't matter that you eat healthy. If you add up what you're eating, you're having 3,000 calories a day and your body's burning at rest,
Yeah.
1,200. Let's just say you get to 2,000 by the end of the day.
Hmm.
Nothing's going to change. So I
Hmm.
started cutting calories. He put me on a program and I still ate food. I didn't starve myself, but I was very conscious of that. And I increased my workouts so that outside of him, I was working out on my own. And month two, and then into month three, you really started seeing results. And it's like again giving yourself a lot more time. I also had tested my hormones, which a lot of women don't do.
Hmm.
Women think like when they get into menopause, that's when they should look at this. But I think that my estrogen levels were 30 times higher than they should have been.
Whoa.
And so in fixing that, that accelerated the weight loss because I was just holding on to water, whatever it was that was due to the imbalance in my hormones. So I'm now 20 pounds down and I'm in the
Oh
best shape
my
of my
God.
life.
It's
I feel
incredible. Yeah.
feeling. I'm like, oh, this is why clothing looks good on people. Because
Yeah.
Not
they're
that you
Like,
were like, yeah, not that you were ever like large or anything. I was like, I've seen your like your progress and you look so strong. And I'm like, what is she doing? Because I work out a lot, but I feel like, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I just don't see that crazy of a body change. So yeah, I think we have to view it holistically.
Yes. And I would also say so that
Mhm.
again, you'll see this in my Substack, but there is a trend around microdosing some of these GLP-1.
Mhm.
Um, so I started microdosing it after the first 10 pounds. And I think that that helped accelerate along with the hormones, the other 10.
Mhm.
So that's been very, very helpful. And there's a lot of research coming out that it's great for your heart, it's great for
Mhm.
longevity if you microdose it. So
I'm gonna text you
and
on the side, get all
yeah,
this
I know
info.
we need the info.
yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Who is Becky in 3 words? And what were you like as a little girl that you think attributed to the person that you are today?
Becky likes to laugh, have fun, down to earth, and hardworking.
Okay.
Love
Um,
it.
the attributes that I have, so I'll never forget my mom would have a booth at the San Diego flea market every Saturday. And I was like, I want to have a booth at the flea market too. And so she brought a card table and she let me set up, and I was probably 7 or 8. And I would spend all week like with puffy paint, making sweatshirts and spin art. I didn't sell anything. But I was so excited to like go there, set up, and stand next to my mom and sell my stuff. And I think that's again like the seed of what is it is like to be an entrepreneur today and that go-getter attitude.
Talk to us about Rebecca Minkoff, and its incredible legacy in contemporary fashion. I mean, it's been around forever, so you've been evolving it, and staying top of mind for, in the fashion industry. Yeah, talk to us about that.
I mean, I think that the time it takes to build a brand is a lot longer than
Hmm.
anyone ever imagines.
Hmm.
I think you can see the rise and fall of a lot of brands or brands that
Yep.
have a lot of money pumped into them that hope that with enough money spent, they achieve, that peace in the consumer's heart. Um, so it's just been this journey where we could have stopped. We should have given up many times. We
Hmm.
should have aborted the plan, and we just kept getting up and doing over and over and over again. And I think sometimes success, when you find yourself having success, it's literally just because you got back up and you got back to work versus taking the easy way out and being like, all right, this is too hard. We had a moment in COVID where it would have been easier to just go out of business. We had
Hmm.
all the excuses to. We had lost all of our wholesale business. Our business shrunk by 70%. We
Wow.
had to lay off.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We had to give pay cuts to the people that remained. My brother and I took the biggest pay cuts, and I think it was just like it would have been easy just to be like, sorry. But we got up and we fought tooth and nail every day to stay alive because we felt like we owed it to ourselves and our partners and what we had spent in that moment of time 15 years doing.
What do you think is the key ingredient to keeping a brand relevant and thriving for
Hmm.
almost 20 years? I think you launched in 2005, right? So it's been 19 years. That to me is what's so, because your business shifts so much, even in the time that we started ideating Dune, there's been so many different iterations of like pivots and twists and turns into what it's turned into. The business is never what you thought it was going to be when you
Yeah.
first ideating and conceptualizing on it. So, yeah, how do you keep a brand alive and thriving?
I think you need to look at Madonna and how she constantly reinvented herself.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
she should have paused the plastic surgery, but everything she did was
to each
was
their own.
no, she was the most beautiful person in the world. And I think it's about constant reinvention and constant
Yeah.
like what's new, what's happening in pop culture,
Yeah.
what's changing and how do you shift with that? And sometimes you miss that wave, May. Uh,
Love the pun. We love puns.
but other times it can
Exactly.
be an incredible acceleration. We're having that wave right now. with the brand. And I think it's obviously due to the airtime I'm getting, but I think that you have to be willing to do a lot of these sometimes seemingly insane things in order to keep fresh, and keep delighting and surprising your customer. And money doesn't solve that all the time. We've never had the budgets people think we have, as much as I would love to. And so just because you have money or are well financed doesn't mean you can just do that forever.
To that point, like what was your biggest oh shit moment?
Besides almost going out of business during COVID,
I mean, that's pretty up there.
we had a moment early on, and I think that because you guys are early on, you'll feel this, where we were working in our first overseas factory, and I figured you didn't need quality control because they make for Michael Kors and Kate Spade. I'm sure they have quality control. And we got bags that had Kate Spade hardware on the interior and Rebecca Minkoff on
No.
the exterior.
Oh,
But we didn't notice it because we didn't have quality control. Our customer noticed it at Saks Fifth Avenue and at Bloomingdale,
Oh
Nord.
no.
no.
Yeah.
So it went
Okay.
straight to your warehouse. I
Yeah.
guess. Oh
Wow.
my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
guess we
I
have
got a
quality
nickname.
control with our CM.
So I got a nickname, Quebeca Spankoff, and I had to go one by one and visit all my buyers, and I'm like, don't return the bags, okay? Just don't. We're gonna
Oh
make this into a
no.
Willy Wonka treasure hunt, and if they find a bag, I will send them a new one.
That's incredible.
That's
Wait,
actually really smart.
that's really smart. That's really smart. Was
I mean,
that before social media too?
That was just at the
Just,
beginning. This was in 2009, 10. So it really
yeah,
wasn't,
with the
it was
beginning.
mostly like how we found out about it was on this popular purse forum called the Purse Forum.
Wow.
oh, I
For these
remember
girls.
that
I
one
remember forums. Remember
because
going
when I
into
was
a
at
forum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bachkier. That's crazy. We actually, I mean, we've really told zero people this, but
Yeah.
we had produced, like in the 11th hour, we had an edit to our artwork on our bottles for these little minis in our Jet Setter Jelly Pack. And thankfully, it wasn't the longest run, and we've like tried to figure out a way to just utilize them for gifting. But Sun Care was spelled Sun's Care.
Oh,
Here.
shit.
And we moved them into production, and we're like, do we do this whole thing around Halloween where it's a sun scare
Yeah.
thing? And yeah, you have those like oh shit moments when you're like, you got to figure out something and laugh about it, and everyone makes mistakes and hope that the customer is lighthearted about it.
I think today owning the mistakes, versus like trying to hide it is, I don't know, it's just like we're all
Cooler.
trying,
We're
we
all
make,
Yeah, we're
trying,
just
yeah.
trying our best.
Humans. We're all humans. We're
yeah.
making we make mistakes and that was definitely a QC mistake, but yeah,
And
it's
you can't hide
scare.
anything now. So
Okay, Becky. How did you meet your husband? We love your love story, and you have such an incredible, cute little family.
thank
And by the way, your hubby is like BFF DM partners with my boyfriend. And he doesn't really tell me, but sometimes he gives me the drop, like, oh, like we've been chatting. I'm like, what?
you.
Because he loved Thanks Journal so much, and it was so
He
cute that
did.
they connected.
Yeah, he still loves it. He's like, bring it back.
I know.
I
I'm
know it
trying.
really had a cult following, or has a cult following.
Yeah. I think we'll talk, but yeah,
Okay.
tell us about the love story.
So I have to go back to the ex-boyfriend because that plays
Oh.
in a big way. So I
That
had
starting point.
I had had someone I had fallen in love with when I was like 13. He was my brother's best friend. He ended up getting married and having two kids very early on. And but I always felt this like overwhelming like love. And I'll never forget when I turned, I guess I was 21, 22. My brother called me and was like, he's getting a divorce and he's coming here to visit me. Get your ass on the plane. So I went down, I went down and I played
Good
coy.
brother.
Yeah. I played coy, cool, calm, and collected. And then on the last night, he's like, hey, I'm kind of into you. And I was like, well, I've been in love with you since I was like 13. Like, I was like, finally, we're getting
Oh,
married. Like, I'm going to be a stepmother. It's going to be great. Um, so we dated for a year and a half long distance. I think he hadn't yet come into his own. And I think when he like woke up one day and realized how handsome he was and successful, he was like, I gotta play the field. Like I've been with two women in my whole
Mm.
life and like women are coming on to me and I gotta go out there and experience it. So he broke up with me. I was
Who's
shattered.
laughing now?
I know.
Who's laughing now?
Um, so he also later became one of our business partners, but that's another story.
As
So I was like 4 years of just shattered. No one could compare. I would date, I'd get in relationships, and I was just always like, that's my guy. And I couldn't get my mind off him. And he would call me every New Year's Eve, like every asshole does, and like, I love you. And I'd be like,
oh,
okay,
please.
like enough. So that particular New Year's Eve, I flew out to LA and I was calling him on my way to the airport to come to his house. He's like, you can't come over. I got a girl here. And I was just like, what am I doing? Why am I trying so hard with this one person? And then I rerouted, went home, went to my parents' house. They were living in California. And I basically was like just mourning that I'm stuck in this cycle. And my friend was like, we're going to go to a party and there's going to be a lot of guys there. So we went to said party, and Gavin walks in, and I remember I kind of had a series of events I'd put together, seeing him from a MySpace page just to date myself. Um, and someone had tried to introduce us 6 months prior, but we were both in these other relationships, and so it didn't make sense. But he was there, and I was like, oh damn, he's so much hotter than his MySpace. So we started talking, and this girl kept coming up and being like, Gavin, do you want a drink? I'm really slow sometimes on social cues. And she was trying to let me know that that's her date, and I didn't pick up on it. By the time I did, I was embarrassed, but the numbers had already been connected. We already had each other's numbers. So I left without saying goodbye, and I ended up figuring out we had mutual friends and sort of started doing my backdoor research. We went on a coffee, wouldn't call it date, because in that coffee, he's like, I'm dating someone. And I was like, let me know what I took a long drag of a cigarette I was smoking. I was like, let me know what happens with that. But inside, I
The
was like,
the
I'm gonna
sass,
leave his
I love
number.
it.
We're not getting married. I can't have his babies. Um, and then he called me 10 days later and he's like, it's done. Like, I want to talk to you. And so we talked every night, 4 hours, 5 hours.
Oh my
Um, and
God.
he
10
invited
days
me.
after?
10 days after, I was in New York. So we just talked on the
Wow.
phone, like till
Couldn't
all out.
get you out of his mind.
And
Yeah.
I, for the first time, was like, someone is out of mine.
Mm.
So we did long distance for about a year and a half. And then when the music industry imploded, he's like, well, you look like you're onto something with your intern and your fifth floor walk up and your first order of handbags, and I have nothing. So maybe I should come to you instead of asking you to come to me.
Incredible. That's
Smart
so
man.
sweet.
All right. So, Bex, what do you think is the key ingredient to making anyone or you a successful leader, um, or women in business? Like, what do you think is the key ingredient? Let's just keep this to business, and leadership.
I think that I played around with different styles of leadership where I wanted to be the best friend. We're a family. Let me nurture you.
Mhm.
Let me give you reasons for why it's okay that you're not doing your job because you're trying so hard.
Mhm.
Um, and a friend of ours who's has a very successful business was like, you are taking money out of your own pocket every day to pay someone to show up and do a job. This isn't a charity, it's not a handout. If they don't make it easier for you to lay more bricks, see a significant change of increase in your business, then they have to go. It doesn't matter how hard they're trying or how nice they are. And that really changed my leadership style from you can be nice,
Mhm.
you can be someone's friendly-ish, but you
Mhm.
still demand excellence of them and you demand them to perform. And if they don't, then they're just not meant. And especially at a startup, like
Yeah.
it's all hands all the time. There is no, it's beyond my working hours, or that's you hit a boundary when you email me on the
Things
week.
you hear. We have
No, you fucking
boundaries.
decided to work at a startup, bitch. Work 24/7. Get
I
to
mean,
work.
our favorite question is up like before getting into the weeds of whether they've even gotten the job or not. It's what are the working hours during the day?
The
I'm
working
like,
hours
I'm
on
sorry,
on
what?
a brand is like 12 to 15-hour days.
No, I mean we have standard work hours, but I'm just like, what a question. And then they start and they're like, here are my boundaries. I'm like, okay, how did I'm like we grew up working in fashion when we were in our early 20s, making $25,000 a year.
Hmm.
Just like waking up at 6 a.m., grinding, getting the coffee, doing all the grunt work. I just like that, those days are gone. Those days
Hmm.
are gone.
There are there are people that will work like that. I think it's fewer and far between, but I guarantee you all the quiet quitters and all the like work-life balance in the beginning, you know, people that are just starting out are not going to be successful because
Hmm.
I don't know another way to build a brand or show up as an employee who rises through the ranks. Like you're never going to reward the person that's always leaving when you need them.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to
Yep.
give them the raise. No, I'm going to give the raise to the girl who stayed here and did what needed to be done. And obviously it was extreme in our era. It doesn't need to be that extreme.
No.
But I think at a
Yeah.
startup or even a 10-year-old business, there are times when it's like, yeah, like
It's
I'm still shocked. We have Fashion Week. Everyone knows it's Fashion Week. It's in September. It's the same goddamn.
Schedule like for like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the amount of people that are like, can I take off the week before or the day after that are working that event? I'm like, are you, what world are you
That's actually a really good piece of advice. And by the way, that applies to every facet of life, not just business.
in? Yeah,
Like the people that apply themselves, the people that hold themselves accountable get rewarded. And it's as simple as that. It's formulaic.
Hmm.
it
And I
is.
think that's gotten lost in the sauce.
It
It's like
has.
it's lost in the sauce.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Roni.
Because we
Hit,
all want to know.
hit me.
You are the newest cast member. You are on so many episodes. You were telling me over dinner, most, although you are a guest star. Who are you? You're Aaron's friend.
I'm a fleeting star.
You're a fleeting star. You're a shooting star. Um, like what motivated you? Did they come to you? Did like someone vouch for you? What motivated you to do this? And by the way, you're the coolest, nicest, and most real. You are so consistent as a person in person as you are on a TV show. So I just want to shout that out.
Well, thanks. I'm getting a lot of boring comments and I'm just like I'm not even offended because I'm like I don't know what happened to the editors if they like smoked a whopping joint before they
Wait, what do you
took a
mean?
look at
Like people are saying you're boring?
yeah, and I'm like it's just, there's a reason why it's great that I control my own platforms because I'm like that's who this person is. It's, it's I'm not sure what the goal or plan is for my storyline, but the reason why I did it was I felt that with the demographic that watches this show, it's my customer, and you cannot buy that type of visibility. You can, but it's billions of dollars.
Mhm.
And when it was pitched to me, it was kind of like, hey, we really want to reposition the show. It's all women who are not don't have sugar daddies. They're all entrepreneurial founders working and living in New York City, want to be fun, funny with a little bit of drama. So upon being presented with that information, it sounded like a great idea. To be able to be in that mix, Jenna Lyons gave the show obviously a ton of credibility. And
Yeah.
so I thought, you know what? I love taking risks. We've done it our entire business. Like this is a risk I'm willing to take. Um, so that was why I decided to do it. And I said to my husband, I can predict our lives if we don't do it, and I can't predict our lives if we do. So isn't that fun?
So fun.
It's like starting anything that has a big risk tied to it.
Yep.
Um, I mean, now that you've wrapped filming, is there any like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about yourself? Obviously, editing comes into play, as you just mentioned, but like, how do you feel you portrayed yourself? And were there any were you walking away with any hesitations?
I only could go into it being me and not being thirsty to get myself involved in drama.
Hmm.
Honestly, a lot of the drama is so petty that not that I couldn't be bothered, but like, this as a founder, like we've had real fucked up shit happening, not like
Yeah.
she doesn't want to be my.
Not stage. Like people were stirring pots intentionally.
Well, I just feel like some of the things that have been upsetting to like where there have been fights have been like, she doesn't call me anymore. And I'm just like,
No, it's so
What?
I don't have
petty.
time for this. Like, I'm dealing with a warehouse issue where I'm like, my goods are stuck in customs. Like, fuck that shit.
I
Yeah.
love how the first episode there was like the pettiest argument at that whatever club that was. And you were like on a totally separate couch. You're like, these girls are whack.
I was on that separate couch because both myself and Raquel really felt like this was a fight of an issue that happened last season. We
That's
weren't
true.
there.
Yeah,
If we would have gone over, it would have looked like we were really thirsty for attention.
that's true.
And I
That's
just was
completely
like,
right.
I'm not going over there because I wasn't a part of this and I'm not thirsty. So I'm gonna just stay where I am and get to know my new friend.
Did you make best friends? Like, who were your favorite peeps?
I love Uba. I think she's an incredible, soulful human. I love Jessel. Raquel's wonderful. I really like most of them.
Most.
Most.
Most. I want to ask you like the dirty questions that I feel like you're not going to want to answer them.
It's not that I'm not going to want to answer them, it's that I might not be allowed to.
So Becky, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, or all the little girls out there, what would it be?
I would say to put your blinders on and really sit down and ask yourself, what would make you happy? What do you want your life trajectory to be? I think we are
Hmm.
so blinded by social media, by just like what other people have and the celebration of it, and that we just get lost in like wanting a little bit of all these things. And, it's like close your eyes, what would make you happy?
Hmm.
And that's the path you have to be true to and follow. And that path can change and evolve. The goals I had when I first started, like sounds stupid, but I was like, I want to reach a point in my life where I don't have to call my bank to see how much money I have to decide if that's when I'm going to go out.
Right.
Or I'd love to be at a point where we go to a group dinner and I know I didn't need as much as everyone else, but we're all going to split the check and I'm not going to have a panic attack.
Hmm.
And then your goals change. I want to be able to pay for my kids' school or go on nice vacations and enjoy what I do and receive these awards and accolades. But like, as long as it's your own genesis and not this romanticized version of what we all see on social media.
Great answer.
Great answer.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. You can listen to all our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Dune Sun Care. And as always, cover your assets.